New coach, same results. Hello and welcome to another episode of In the Trenches with Gang Green. I'm your host, Bubbs. Today, we are going to be recapping all angles of the New York Jets and Buffalo Bills AFC East clash out at MetLife Stadium. And it was another week and another painful New York Jets loss. This one, probably the most painful of them all, as they fall 23-20 to the Buffalo Bills, fall to 2-4 on the season. Buffalo improves to 4-2 after a long week of coaching changes. Robert Saleh getting fired, Nathaniel Hackett getting demoted, Todd Downing being promoted to offensive play caller. Despite all of those changes, the New York Jets still find a way to go out there on primetime. And I guess the best way to put it is the New York Jets jetted tonight, if that's the best way to put it. I mean, this was brutal. And I'll tell you what, we're going to get right into it. I've had a lot of ranting. I've had a lot of screaming. I've had a lot of just fiery episodes over these last couple of weeks, specifically these last 2 weeks, of course, with the loss against Denver and then the loss in London against Minnesota last week, which, of course, ultimately led to Saleh getting canned on Tuesday. But I don't know if it's late. I don't know if it's because it's Monday night. I don't know if it's because the way the New York Jets lost this game. Like I said, maybe it's 11:41 because it's 11:41 p.m. Eastern. I've been up since 6 in the morning. Maybe it's that. I don't know, but I'm just shot. I'm done. I mean, I am so I'm not even like I'm just I don't have the energy to get frustrated. I mean, I am just so angry. I'm upset. I'm ticked off. I mean, there's no other way to put it. I mean, I don't really know what more needs to be said. And I said it last week, kind of jokingly at the end of the episode, that as each week goes by and each Jets loss continues to rack up, these episodes are going to get shorter and shorter because there's not going to be much more that needs to be said. And as the great Joe Beningo always says, you can change the coach, you can change the quarterback, you could change the stadium, you can change the jersey, you can change whatever the heck you want to change about this franchise. Heck, the New York Jets went out there tonight with this old school logo. The jerseys look great, by the way. So they are losing in style, but that doesn't matter. You don't get any style points for jerseys in the NFL. Jerseys look great. Unfortunately, of course, you couldn't get a win in them, but you can change all that nonsense. And you can fire the coach middle of the year. You can change the offensive play caller, do all of this stuff. And it still always comes back to the same old Jets. And tonight was another one of those nights. And I'll be honest, and the right wording wouldn't be the Robert Saleh era, but in this era since 2021 with this kind of core of players, this is probably the most painful loss that there's been. This ranks right up there with the Vikings loss in 2022, where you had the Berrios drop in the end zone when they're on the 1 yard line. And it also ranks right up there with the New England Patriots loss, where obviously the game that ultimately led to Zach Wilson's benching for Mike White, the punt return kickoff return, of course, for the punt return walk-off for the New England Patriots to win that game 10-3. This ranks up right up there. And I think this might be the most painful of those two. Those are just the two I could think of in the last, 2 years with this core group of players. That's been the most painful. And tonight, I think, was the most painful because not only just the way they lost, they had this game. Buffalo didn't really win this game. Really, the Jets lost this game. I mean, they had this game in the bag, and Zerline was awful. The penalties are a disgrace. The run defense was terrible. The Jets got pushed around all night in the trenches, which is absolutely pathetic, and it's happened multiple times this season now, and they still can't fix it. Tyron Smith looked like he was 80 years old out there. We'll get into all that, but this was a game the Jets should have won. And I think why it's most painful is the implications. You walk out of this game 27-23, we're talking about a offense that looked great. We're talking about a team that's walking out of there first place in the division. And we're talking about a Jets team that's 1-0 after coaching changes, 1-0 under Jeff Ulbrich. And you completely look at the rest of the season differently. And we called tonight a must win. And just the way that the implications were on this game, I mean, you now look at it and you're 2-4. This season's over. I mean, this team is not making the playoffs. They're just not. This is it, right? Denver, Minnesota was a disaster. You gave this team one more chance. Like we always do as fans. We always give them one more chance. You know what? If this happens, if this goes our way, we get this player back, all this stuff. We lost 2 straight games. We gave him one more chance. All right. Rodgers bounces back. Buffalo's lost 2 straight. New coach, new play caller, Morgan Moses back, all this stuff. And they still find a way to just lose. I mean, they just, all this team does. That's what this organization is. Good teams find ways to win. Bad teams find ways to lose. And the New York Jets aren't just a bad team. They're atrocious on so many levels. The problems with this team run deeper than just the surface level of the play we see on the field. The problems with this team run deep within the organization. Of course, starts all the way at the top and trickles all the way down. I mean, I'm just so beat. We're all beat as Jets fans. You go out, you bring in a Hall of Fame quarterback, and this team still sucks. They're 2-4 with a Hall of Fame quarterback, Aaron Rodgers. And I don't want to hear Rodgers is washed. He played great tonight. Rodgers played great tonight. If you would have given me Aaron Rodgers' stat line before this game and asked me if the Jets win, I would have told you, yeah. And they better have won. But of course they didn't. It's just pathetic. It's sad. It's disappointing. It's disgusting. It's frustrating. Whatever words you want to use. Like I said, I'm beat. I think that's the best word I can use. I'm just beat. I think all Jets fans are beat. It's the same thing every year. And watching that game and seeing this team crumble, Zerline missing the 2 field goals, seeing them get inside the 5-yard line and not able to score, seeing all these penalties wipe big plays away. I mean, just seeing the way this team melted and the way this team crumbled. We've seen this time and time again. Like, we've seen this over and over and over again. Like, we don't deserve this every single year. And yet every single year, the Jets continue to cook up losses like this and serve it on a silver platter with a big middle finger to their fans. And I feel bad for all the fans tonight that went to that game and are probably sitting in traffic right now as I'm recording this and probably won't get back till 1-2 in the morning. I feel bad. I feel bad for all the season ticket holders. I always say it. This organization does not deserve this fan base, and losses like tonight are a number one reason for that. Like, they just collapse. They find ways to lose. They suck every single year. They just suck the life out of you, even with a Hall of Famer at quarterback, playing at a elite level tonight. Rodgers was great tonight. Now, he took a beating, but there was a lot of great. The Hail Mary, that's another thing, too. The Jets found a way to lose this game when Aaron Rodgers connected on a freaking Hail Mary. Like, how do you let that happen? You have a Hail Mary before halftime, and you still find a way to lose the football game. You still find a way to lose. Just sad. And that's the thing, like, and I'll be honest, I think Troy Aikman said it best. And that's where I'm at as a fan. That's why I'm beat. Because last week, all right, you fire the coach, okay. Change the play call, all right. And the offense was better tonight. But there's nothing else this team can do. And Aikman kind of said it there on the end of the broadcast. Like, he doesn't know where this team should go. He doesn't know where this team can go. Like, there's no other way to go. You're not going to, there's nothing else. Nothing else you can do. You fired the head coach. You fired the offensive coordinator. And this is probably the most painful loss that you've had all year. This is probably the most painful loss that you've had in probably about a year now. A whole year. Like I said, dating back in terms of with this core, you probably have to go back to that Vikings and Patriots loss. But again, because of the implications on tonight's game with the division on the line, coming off of what was a crazy week, Aaron Rodgers, all that stuff, this was the most painful. Also, just the way they gave it away. I mean, it's the simple stuff. Kicking a football through an upright. Is it that hard, Zerline? Is it that hard? And this guy's been atrocious since the summer. And they let Seabird go, kept Zerline, which I'm not going to sit here and say I called for Zerline to be cut. I'm not going to say that. But that's just typical Jets. You keep the kicker that's not even the best one on the roster, and here he is costing you games in a massive division tilt on Monday Night Football. That is typical Jets. Typical. So yeah, there's your opening statement. I'm beat. That's the best way I could put it. In terms of the offense tonight, to kind of break it down, the defense was terrible. I guess we'll get to why not? Let's start to the defense because they're terrible, and they were awful tonight. They were awful. I again go back to this. Look, and I've said it all year. This defense has been playing bend but don't break. Right? They kind of played bend but don't break against Minnesota. Slow start. Finally caught up to them and really made Darnold look back to Darnold's ways. Didn't have a touchdown, had the one pick after playing at an elite level, right? They slowed down Minnesota. For the most part, they contained Jefferson. A lot of it was bend but don't break. But they were good enough to win. Same thing against Denver. Good enough to win. Definitely good enough to win. They allowed 10 points. They held Bo Nix to 60 passing yards. A lot of that was Bo Nix just being terrible, not really the defense making plays, but still, 10 points, you got to win that game. This week, though, that was not the case. From the start, they were a disaster. I don't know what it is. I don't know what it is with this team. Whether it's preparation during the week, I don't know what it is. But for some reason, this team cannot stop backup running backs. You go into Monday night against the Niners to open up the season in San Fran. Christian McCaffrey's out. Jordan Mason has the game of his life. This game, you go into it having a pretty good feeling James Cook probably wasn't going to play. Doesn't play. Ray Davis goes out there, averages a tick under 5 yards a carry at 4.9 for 97 yards. Buffalo as a team rushed for 149 yards and a touchdown that came from Josh Allen with his legs. I mean, they got dominated up front all night long. They got destroyed in the run game. And that was with Lecky Fotu, too, as well. And I thought he would make a little bit of a difference in the run game. You were kind of thinking, okay, no Cook, you get Fotu back. All right. Maybe the Jets actually have some success against the run. And I thought Allen was going to be much more. I thought Allen was going to run a lot more himself. I don't think the Bills actually expected Ray Davis and heck, even Ty Johnson, who only had 4 carries but had 34 yards. He averaged 8.5 yards per carry. The former Jet, Ty Johnson. All right, he goes out there and makes some plays, which is pathetic. But that's my point is you get I actually thought Josh Allen would run a lot more tonight. And I think the Jets were I think the Bills were surprised that Ray Davis was finding holes. Like this Jets defense up front was getting manhandled all night. And then you go to the last play before the third down. Jets need to stop to get the ball back in the fourth quarter. And Michael Clemens, everybody knew Josh Allen was going to run that. Michael Clemens bit. I'm once again asking, why the heck is Michael Clemens still on this team? Why the heck is Javon Kinlaw still on this team? And this is where it falls on Joe Douglas's plate. It is fireable. Joe Douglas this is a fireable offense. I'm going to get heated about this one. That what Joe Douglas has done to this defensive line room. He took this defensive line that had Bryce Huff, JFM, Quentin Jefferson, Al Woods, heck, even Sheldon Rankins. All of these pieces, all of them gone, right? Huff to Philly. The Quentin Jefferson situation didn't make any sense with the communication about his camp. Jets didn't react in time or whatever. That was a disaster. He's in Cleveland. JFM, they traded for nothing, and they don't even have Reddick. And I don't even want to hear the nonsense either that, Reddick's going to show up. Don't worry. And, we're going to trade for Devontae Adams. Cut me that BS as well. They're not trading for Devontae Adams. If Devontae Adams watched the game tonight and he had a choice between which team to go to, he's 100% going to Buffalo because I would too. I wouldn't want to come to play for this crappy team that's going nowhere except into the ground. So forget the Devontae Adams nonsense, and I don't even want to hear, Reddick's coming back. I don't believe it until I see it. And I'm sure we'll get into more of that tomorrow, and I'm sure we'll get into other stuff tomorrow, as we always do. But the Jets are 2-4. Nobody wants to play for this team right now. But that's my point, is Douglas, what he has done to this defensive line is sad. It's sad. This was the best unit in the NFL, one of the best units in the NFL, and he's turned it into a bunch of undrafted guys, Javon Kinlaw, who never worked out as a first-round pick, Tack McKinley, who never worked out as a first-round pick. Jermaine Johnson, all right, the torn Achilles is awful, but you can't just sit here and blame injuries. Jermaine Johnson couldn't be your only guy. And Michael Clemens, who hasn't done anything in his 3 years here and yet still is out there. Like, what has Michael Clemens done as a New York Jet to get consistent playing time week in and week out? What has he done? Why is he even still on the team? Why was he on the team to start the season? But you know what? Again, Douglas's big ticket move this offseason was Hassan Reddick. Hassan Reddick will cure everything. And here we are, October 14th. The clock is about to switch to Tuesday, October 15th here in about 5 minutes. It's going to be midnight. And Hassan Reddick still not playing with the Jets. And I know, he got the, new agent, all this stuff. Give me a break. I don't believe it until I see it. But that's just, tonight was awful. Like, the defensive line was nowhere. And sure, Will McDonald, I know he got credit with the sacks. Sure, he's had a good year. But, even too, with the defense, it's always been coverage sacks with this team, where quarterback has a lot of time, can't find anybody, tries to buy time, and the defense brings him down. There has been very, very, very minimal moments this year where the Jets defensive line has actually beaten an opposing team's offensive line cleanly and brought down the quarterback. The only one I could probably think of is New England. It's the only one. And look, OW is a W, but I'm going to get real negative here for the second. New England sucks. So congrats on having 7 sacks against a team that's 1-5. Really, they win next week and the Jets lose. They're both 2-5. So I guess I shouldn't crush their record too much because the Jets are almost right there in the cellar. But you get the point. So, sorry. That's my defensive line rant. They were awful tonight. Awful. And it's sad what has happened. Douglas took what was a strength of this team, and he is in one off season, he's turned it into a massive weakness. A massive, massive weakness. I also thought Ashton Davis tonight was terrible. And look, I know they didn't have many other options. I know Jalen Mills was out there a little bit, of course, in his first game as a Jet, elevated out for the practice squad, obviously with JBC inactive and Chuck Clark out for the game, which was a tough blow. They were thin there at safety, so I get it. But the Ashton Davis thing, I did not understand. The play before on Keon Coleman, he was in coverage. He got beat, but he got lucky. It was a bad throw by Josh Allen. He got lucky. Bad throw by Josh Allen. Okay, you live to fight another down. So then what did the Jets do? They look for, or I apologize. It was Curtis Samuel, I believe. Yes, Curtis Samuel, I believe. Yeah, not Keon Coleman. Curtis Samuel that he missed. And Davis got beat. But he got lucky. Bad throw by Allen. The next play, Davis is on Matt Collins. And he gets beat again for a touchdown. Hollins' only reception of the night. That was a terrible sequence. Like, you see him get beat. That play, you got lucky. You got bailed out. Make the adjustment. And they put him back in the coverage, and he gets beat again. That's pathetic. That can't happen. That is inexcusable. Inexcusable. So he was getting beat like a drum tonight in the in coverage. He was awful. Will McDonald had the sack. He got credited with the sack on the Allen fumble. That's another thing, too. God forbid the Jets ever recover a fumble. God forbid Michael Clemens ever decides to maybe get down on the ground and grab a fumble as opposed to watching it roll on the turf. The Jets, they don't recover fumbles. They can't even do that. What can this team do? Nothing. I've just answered. That's a rhetorical question. This team can't do anything. That's why they're 2-4. That's why they suck. That's why they haven't made the playoffs since 2010. And why they won't make the playoffs again. Kinlaw, too, was terrible. Kinlaw should have been benched. I would have taken Kinlaw out of the game. He had The penalty, and then he had two terrible penalties. He had three total. Three penalties in a sequence of like 5 plays. Three penalties on one series. And in the moment of the game, he's got to read the room and be aware of the situation. He was being so selfish when he jumped off sides on the kick on the field goal attempt. And then he gets an unsportsmanlike conduct for being upset with the refs after the field goal goes through. He's upset with them, says something to him, gets an unsportsmanlike conduct. Dude, you're in a 3-point game. Shut your mouth, go to the bench, stop complaining. That's such a selfish move to complain to the refs, get penalized for it, and hurt your team. That is, I would have benched him right then and there. I wouldn't even allow him. I wouldn't even allow him to get on the. I mean, it's a home game, so it's not like they're getting on the team bus. But you get the point. As the saying goes, I wouldn't even let him on the team bus after this game. Kinlaw was awful. Not just the penalties, but his play hasn't been any good. He hasn't been any good this year. There's nobody on this defensive line, even Quinnen Williams, who beats guys cleanly anymore. Nobody. The last guy to do it was Jermaine Johnson. He's hurt. And now the Jets are scrambling. So up front, the trenches was awful. Awful. Secondary, I thought DJ Reed did some good things. I thought the one pass interference was total garbage. On the one on Matt Collins, the ball wasn't even catchable. It was so out of bounds. That was bad. Look, there was a lot of bad calls tonight. There was definitely calls that were warranted. And the Jets were definitely undisciplined. I mean, they took 11 penalties for 110 yards. Penalties are penalties at the end of the day. Getting penalized 11 times is not going to help you win. So, that's pathetic, but, yeah, I mean, I don't know. That's a disaster. The 11 penalties on the Jets. So defensively, they were awful. Also, can we mention this too? The tackling. I mean, the tackling is gross. Does the team practice tackling during the week? Do they? Especially Sauce too. I think it's time to have a conversation about the way Sauce is playing this year. He's not playing well enough. He had the dropped interception last week. He doesn't pick balls off. He just doesn't. He's allergic to interceptions. God forbid you ever catch an interception, especially last week when the ball's in your chest. And his tackling, he's armed. It's all weak arm tackles with this team. All weak arm tackles. That's inexcusable. They made Ray Davis tonight look like prime Thurman Thomas. You kidding me? I thought I was watching Thurman Thomas tonight run the football. Nope, just the Jets defense stinking it up again. Just the Jets as a team stinking it up again at that dump of a stadium in East Rutherford. All right, move to the offense. You go from the trenches on defense to the trenches on offense, and they were god-awful. Tyron Smith, the Anita Kane. I mean, this guy looked cooked tonight. He looked washed. He was awful tonight. Awful. He looked like he was 80 years old. I mean, the play where he let Rasul Douglas on the Breece Hall run, he's the lead blocker going downfield. He makes that block. Breece Hall, I'm not saying he goes for a touchdown, but a whole lot more than, I think he got 2 yards. He ended up getting 2 yards on that play. It was either a yard or two. And Tyron Smith just runs right past him. Douglas kind of cuts in. Smith just blows by him. Tyron Smith was awful tonight. The penalties, I believe the one sack, Epinesa blew by him. He was awful. Barely got a hand on Epinesa. Tyron Smith was awful. By far his worst game as a Jet. And probably Tyron Smith's worst game as a pro in years. I mean, years. This guy never plays like this. Never. but he hasn't really been that good all year. But tonight was especially bad. He's been off all year, but tonight was like terrible. By far his worst performance of the season. Offensive line wasn't good enough. Wasn't good enough. Rodgers can't take this beating. He looks shot on the sidelines. Like Rodgers just looks so depressed on the sidelines. He's like, oh, I got 11 more games of this. Countdown's on. Countdown's on until another Egypt trip for Rodgers. So offensive line tonight was terrible. I thought early on they opened up some run lanes, but the holding penalties, there was a couple false starts, which are inexcusable. Those are still happening. You know, a couple of them negated the big plays. I still don't understand what the problem. And I know Braylon Allen scored on the one play that ended up getting called back. That was brutal. The Braylon Allen touchdown that got called back. That's 6 points. Most likely, I don't even know if Zuerlein hits the extra point because he's been that bad. He can't hit a boat he can't hit water right now if he kicked the football off a boat. That's how bad he's been. But still, that's 6 points off the board, and maybe from some luck from the football gods, Zuerlein makes the extra point. Either way, the Tyron Smith holding takes the Braylon Allen touchdown off the board. So the offensive line, sure, there was definitely some moments, but all in all, the penalties, the sacks, the Bills that there was I forget when it was. There was no running backs back. It was empty formation. It was, I think it might have been a third and I don't know if it was a 2nd and 17 or third. It was something long. Buffalo blitz. Jets weren't ready for it. Rodgers got sacked. He got bottled up. So he's taking a beating. I mean, there was time. He's getting sacked and he's getting up limping. And they got to face TJ Watt next week. All you can do is just laugh at this point, I guess. Not even. I never believed in that. There's no laughing through the pain. Rodgers was good tonight. I mean, he was. Look, the pick to Mike Williams was not his fault. I don't know what the heck Mike Williams was doing. I don't know what the heck Mike Williams has been doing. He didn't have a catch tonight. He had 3 targets. He had 3 targets. Didn't have a catch. This is another night where it was the Allen Lazard, Garrett Wilson show. Like 2 receivers getting involved. No Gibson. He doesn't even play. I mean, he just returns punts at this point. Corley was inactive. Mike Williams didn't have a catch. Like there's no receiving depth. There isn't. Tyler Conklin had 2 catches. One of them, there were 2 basically just check downs. Breece Hall had 5 catches. This was another one of these games where you look at the receiving and there was not much involvement from other guys. Now, Garrett was very good. He had a touchdown. Great play by Rodgers. Great throw. Great catch. Lazard had the Hail Mary catch, of course, even like that, too. Like the Jets, like I said in the open, found a way to lose a game where Aaron Rodgers connected on the Hail Mary. How does that happen? How? Jets football. Breece was good tonight. 18 carries, 113 yards. His best game of the season. Braylon Allen should have had a touchdown, got called back. The Jets made plays. The offensive line wasn't good enough. And there were some penalties. That's what killed them. Touchdown taken off the board on Allen. I still think that they're still struggling in the red zone. They were 1 of 4 in the red zone. That's got to stop. I still can't get over the fact that they get to the 5-yard line and they can't find a way to punch it in. And it's like 5 to 10 yards within that range. The Jets, for some reason, the playbook shrinks to nothing, and they've got nothing. They got nothing. All they had tonight was Rodgers rolling out, extending the play, and by the grace of the football gods, finding Garrett Wilson in the back of the end zone. That's what that was. That was the Jets' best red zone play. Nothing else works. Well, Braylon Allen worked, but, it gets called back because Tyron Smith was lost tonight. But, yeah, red zone's terrible. And in the cap it all for the missed field goals. And that's the other point we'll make here. The missed field goals. Greg Zuerlein's been off since the summer. He's been off since the summer. Heck, he's been off since the preseason. He's been off since the preseason. And here he is kicking big kicks in a big game, and he's missing them. He's missing them. And it wasn't like these were 50-yard bombs either. And I don't want to hear, the wind. Forget about it. No chance am I want anybody to talk about the wind. First it was the rain. Now it's the wind. What next? The sun? The clouds? The nighttime? Is it the nighttime? Zerline sucks. There's two guys I would send to the moon right now. Zerline and Kinlaw. And put Clemens in there as well. I'd send Clemens, Zerline, and Kinlaw to the moon right now. Zerline, pack up your locker, dude. Don't even worry about coming back to MetLife in 3 weeks when you play on Halloween. Don't even think about that. Forget about that. And the same goes for Kinlaw. But Zerline, they've got to actually figure it out. All seriousness, though, they've got to figure it out. Zerline can't keep kicking field goals. He can't keep doing it. Bring somebody else in. Try another kicker out. I can't believe we have a kicker problem. I mean, our problems run so deep. We've got a kicker problem now. Like the only thing we got left is Morstead. The only thing this team's got left. The offense is like the only thing this team's got left that's consistent is Morstead. That's all we got. Not even our kicker's consistent anymore. We got one good year from Zerline, and that was it. And now we're back to square one. So, no, we got 2 years of Zerline. 2 years of Zerline. Well, this is 3 years. 3 years of Zerline, and we're back to phase one. So, I don't know, man. And I don't want to hear either. Call me negative. I don't want to hear either. Oh, next week's must win. Figure it out. No, this was the must win. This was the must win game. I'm not in the mood to hear division. Oh, the AFC is weak. I'm not in the mood to hear any of that nonsense. The Jets are 2-4. They just handed the game to the Buffalo Bills. They changed the coach. They changed the offensive play caller, and they're still in the same position that they were in last week. And that is a loss, more questions than answers, and what's slowly feeling like a lost season. And I don't want to look too far ahead, but this is where I'm at. Who's going to want to come coach here next year? Who's going to be the quarterback next year? All of these Band-Aid contracts are blowing up in Douglas's face. Mike Williams hasn't been good enough. Tyron Smith's been a disaster. Morgan Moses is out after this year. Rodgers is done. Forget about Rodgers coming back for another year. I'm sure if it was up to Rodgers, he'd say, get the heck out of there now. And I don't blame him. I don't blame him if he wants to not play here right now. Because why would he? I wouldn't want to play here right now either. Being a fan's hard enough. Let alone playing for this dumpster fire. Disaster. But this team's going right into the ground. They're going right into the ground. And there's nothing more they can do. This was the big move they could make, and yet it's the same results. Undisciplined football. And another loss where the Jets left 7 to 10 points out there. Braylon Allen touchdown called back, 2 missed kicks, boom, 13 points. No reason the Jets should have 30 points tonight. No excuses. 30 points. They should have 30. Even if Zerline misses one of those kicks, they still should have had 30. Because you get the Braylon Allen touchdown, and then you get one of his kicks going in. Instead, he misses 2 kicks. And he almost missed 3. The other one looked like it was missed it on TV. I thought for sure he missed it. I thought at first he missed it. I was like, oh, crap. And Tyler Bass wasn't any good. That's my point. Like, the Bills were handing this game to the Jets. Tyler Bass was saying, here, take it. And, of course, the Jets didn't take it because they suck. So that's it, man. 2-4. You're now 2 games back in the division. And it's a nightmare. This is a nightmare. This is a nightmare. And what's so bad, again, is all of these Joe Douglas additions were awful tonight. In a big game, Joe Douglas additions, awful. And the subtractions play well elsewhere. Not really Bryce Huff, but JFM, all this nonsense. So Sorry if I'm rambling, but I'm fed up. We're all fed up. That's it. That'll do it. That's another episode. We'll be back tomorrow talking more Jets therapy. Because why not? We're all in this together, right? We'll have more takeaways. We'll have some stats. We'll have some injury updates, I'm sure, on Chuck Clark. I'm sure we'll maybe have something more on Michael Carter. I don't know. We'll have injury updates. We'll have more updates coming from yesterday's win. I'll obviously watch the film. So we'll pick some plays there to talk about when I watch it in the morning. And yeah. Jets lose 2-4. Season is in a free fall. That's the best way I could put it. It's in a free fall. And right now, there's no sign of it stopping. So, Pittsburgh coming up on a short week. That is brutal. Going into Pittsburgh, going into that environment on a short week is about as hard as it gets, especially when you lose a game like this. So, talk to you guys soon. Appreciate all the support as always. I really thought this year was different, but here we are. Same stuff, different year. Same old Jets. We should know this. Talk to you guys soon. Jets, Jets, Jets.